are more likely to work in severe sector jobs, least likely to own a car, and least likely to own their home. They are therefore more likely to be in close contact with other people from the way they travel to the kinds of work they do to the conditions in which they live. Again, this is just trying to point the blame and saying that we're contracting it because of, if you look at the underlying saying, it's just saying we dirty, plain and simple. If you look here, this is talking about in Brazil, the genocide. And a lot of people are coming out talking about how people in Rio and a lot of these indigenous countries that have, dark-skinned people are dying from coronavirus. They're killing off black people, black men specifically. Now this woman right here did an interview talking about this exact same thing. Lead coronavirus scientist suggests pandemic is genocide and claims doctors will let black people die. Same thing I was saying. Here it's talking about in Chicago, African-American neighborhoods. Black Chicagoans account for half of all coronavirus cases in the city and more than 70% of deaths, despite making up basically 30% of the population. So again, understand, whether you want to take it serious or not, they don't waste an opportunity, and they're not going to waste one now. A lot of us, we're black, and they really don't understand exactly how strong we are, to tell you the truth. And we are stronger than a lot of people realize. And we've been through so much. No matter what they throw at us, we always bounce back. We're still here. So we got to look at this and again, take it seriously, because this is something they're using against us. And they have been doing this to us, of course, for a long time. It's the whole purpose and point of having a black neighborhood, having us in these ghettos together. And it's one of the reasons why you got to understand why it's important to get out, because the food that's coming into the black neighborhood is not the same food as the white neighborhood. The water is not the same, as that has been proven in Detroit. Everything is completely different. It's better for them and worse for us in many different ways. We're not getting the same adequate education, teachers, water, food, air, you name it. It's different for us in a black neighborhood than it is in a white neighborhood. That's a fact. So again, while they're pushing this culture on you that's making you, proud to be from the hood and I want to stay in the hood, you want to be a ghetto superstar and so on and so forth, they want to keep you there because they know if you're dumb enough to want to stay there, they don't want you. I talked about this in a previous video, and I said this specific thing of how they're going to be trying to get rid of poor black people. I talked about this in one of the videos before. I was talking about the purge. I forget what video that was, but I said this before, and here it is. I said it before, how they're going to be targeting specifically poor black people. And that's one of the things the Purge movie is talking about, getting rid of the poor black people. And they're doing so with this. Even though you're not seeing the numbers, or you're not seeing it or hearing about it as much as I'm talking about right now in this video, understand it's a lot. I know people that work in hospitals and they're telling me the exact same thing. All of a sudden, because in the beginning of this, it wasn't like this. I walked into the hospital, I showed you guys a picture. Before me in the hospital was empty, but now all of a sudden, it's amping up. A lot of people are checking in scared because they're sick and they feel symptoms of coronavirus, and they're going to the hospital and they're going to get tested. And they're hearing the stories of people that's dying from it. So again, this is their purge. This is what they want to do. They want to get rid of as many poor, ignorant black people as possible. You got to ask yourself, what is it about the black community that makes people want to stay? And the first thing that people are going to say is, well, they don't really want to be there. They just have to be there because of poverty issues. And that's one of the things. You got to really work hard to get out and understand how important it is to get out. And if you're focused specifically on that and working on, personal economics, you're going to make it out. It's not about, feeling like you're a punk or you're being chased out of your hood or your home. It's about being smart. It's survival. It's the number one instinct that you have, is survival instinct. They are in the business of changing your mind, fooling with your intelligence and fooling with your cognitive functions to make you believe that somehow being popular or cool or being, gangster or right and so on and so forth is more important than your very life. Because you got people out here who are dying to be cool, to look cool. People out here who are risking their life, their time, spending years behind bars to fit in with a culture that was made to destroy them. And they understand this, and they're going to go further than you are willing to go to make sure you fall to what they put out there. So for people who are going to be like, well, I'm not leaving the hood, so on and so forth, you see what's happening, you see, why it's not a really good idea to be there. But make no mistake, they are gearing this towards black people. They are protesting right now in Chicago. They're protesting right now in California. They're protesting in a lot of different states right now, mainly so in California, like Santa Ana, a lot of rich white places where it's peaceful. Cops just sitting on horses and letting them peacefully protest. And I guarantee you, if Detroit start doing the same thing the same way, it's not going to be that peaceful. So people are getting upset because they're trying to look around and figure out where is the real danger. And again, this is like, the third time I've seen something about the mayor of Vegas, which I'm in Vegas right now, basically being called out about what she was saying about coronavirus. And the one thing that they cut out, which they played here in Vegas, but they didn't play for you guys everywhere else, is her point on Sweden. You guys know who follow me that I live in Sweden as well, and that I know everything that's going on there. So I have a lot of people contacting me from Sweden because Sweden never shut down. Sweden is wide open and has been wide open since the pandemic started. So the Swedish government basically came out and said, well, we can't shut down because if we do, it's going to destroy our economy. Because in Sweden, they get paid once a month. And everything is really run. It's a work-based country in Sweden, especially Malmo, where I live. And you gotta go to work. And they can't sit back and run the country with nobody working. People need to work. It's not like America. So Sweden said this. Sweden said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to basically tell, if you're elderly, if you're at risk for this disease, stay home, quarantine. Do not go where any other people are. Those are the people who should be quarantined. Elderly, people who are at risk for the disease because they have an underlying illness like AIDS or any immune weakening diseases, they should be quarantined away from the healthy people. Now, if you want to talk about people who can pass the disease without having any symptoms, well, if the people that's going to be contracting these diseases are not around you, namely the elderly and sick people, then who are they going to give the disease to? So in Sweden right now, they're talking about something called herd immunity. And you're going to hear about this soon. Herd immunity is basically where you have a certain amount of people that's basically immune to the disease. Now, they want to be careful and make sure they're not saying, they can't get it, or immune in the sense to where it's not possible for them to be affected, but immune in the sense to where they've already been infected in their body and they beat it, and their body has now antibodies that can defeat coronavirus. So this is one of the reasons how you figure out a vaccine. A person who beats a disease, you basically, get in their blood cells and figure out, basically the formula of what defeated that disease. So the antibodies for the cure is within their bodies. So after a certain amount of people is infected and are cured, what happened is you have herd immunity. So herd immunity is going to occur where you have the virus, yes, no vaccine, nobody's been cured of the disease yet, it's going to flow from person to person. So what happens after a while is people start to recover, they become a blocker, for the disease. So you have a person that's infected here, a person that has immunity here, and then another person that's not infected here. So instead of the disease passing from the infected person to the other non-infected person over here, it's blocked by this person that's been immune. So let's say this person was going to give it to this person, but it's now blocked because he has immunity. So it basically dies out eventually because this person is now going to be cured, and there's no path to the next person, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Sorry for the hands, but herd immunity is going to happen when enough people are reaching that point. And then you're going to have something that's called the herd immunity threshold. When it gets to that point where you have a certain amount of the population who has went through the disease and are now cured, to where it reaches a threshold which they can calculate that, well, since this number of people has been infected and are now cured or over the disease, it's enough people that's going to create enough blockers to where we don't have to worry about the disease spreading. So that's the herd immunity threshold. They're going to start talking about this soon. And then now, this is what they're talking about in Sweden. So, it's saying here how, pandemic they was talking about ain't show up. You see people walking around, they're outside. Everything's open in Sweden. The only thing they basically limited was concerts and stuff like that, sporting events, to where you have thousands of people. A lot of those things are not going on, but everything else is open. Schools are open, restaurants are open. It's normal life over there. So she was talking about the governor, about Sweden, and yeah, she said some crazy stuff, but that was one of the major points that she made. But a lot of people were not talking about. A lot of news outlets are not reporting on, except for in a negative way online. But you can't argue with the results because in Sweden everything's fine. They're not reporting a massive loss of people or massive amounts of infections and people dying. The numbers that are coming from there to us here are bullshit and fake, because I'm talking to people over there and they're like, dude, nobody's sick. Everybody's fine and it's cool. So if this is what we can see in Sweden, why is it not the same for here? And the answer is clear. Sweden is a white country, predominantly white. And they are not going to kill off a bunch of Swedish people, white people, by introducing this virus in their country. And it seems like they know it. So they're walking around like it's nothing. But in these cities here, predominantly black, African-American cities in America, we see what's going on, what's taking place. So now, as I said, it's basically a purge, and that's what that movie is trying to tell you. And purge is basically, can also be used as a medical term. Purge is basically when you release, throw up, or you purging a disease from your body. What's happening with the detoxification process in people's body is a purge. Your body is basically purging the viruses or diseases from your body. So it's not a coincidence that you had the movie called The Purge that also has a medical term to it that relates to exactly what we're going through right now. So again, you had to pay attention to the underlying meaning of those movies. I only saw a little bit of the second one, didn't see the whole movie, but the first one, clear as day, they was telling me what they was going to do. So understand, homeless, old, black people they want to get rid of, and we gotta take it seriously. And I know from what people are seeing, it's hard to take seriously because you are again putting yourself in the same boat as white people, and you gotta understand why you can't do that. As I talked about before, we are not in the same boat as them, plain and simple. Nothing that they do negatively affects their economy. Everything we do affects us, and we keep putting ourselves in the same boat as them, and we can't. We got to stop doing that. So it is as serious as they're trying to project it, but then at the same time, it's not. Again, there's that whole duality thing. So you can go outside, do normal shit, come back home. You've been doing it for weeks now, and you're fine. So you gotta understand that this is what they want you to believe until next thing you know, you're sick, and it's like, uh-oh. Because I'm pretty sure my best friend didn't think he would get sick or get it because he's never sick. And a lot of people who got it and got sick just think, it's something that can be easy. But let me tell you, my friend, when he came home, the steroids that they give you when they put you on that machine, it affects your muscles. So your muscles are like it's trying to get itself together when you're coming off steroids. And one of the biggest things that, he said, just how shocked he was that he got sick. So a lot of people feel this way. A lot of people, even when I got sick before all this happened, when I had the flu, I did the video, showed you guys, I was shocked because I'm always, taking care of myself. And I was slacking around that time. So, then I'm like, okay, I got to get back on my herbs and everything, which I have been since then. I haven't been sick since that day. And I feel great. I go outside, and when I come in, I make sure, clean my hands and make sure I'm feeling good and there's no bugs or anything like that. And one of the issues that we do as black people is we like to ignore shit. We think we're Superman all the time when we can just, take some alcohol or drink some alcohol or take something, some couple pills and something that's gonna, we have our remedies, our home remedies that we believe is gonna cure us of anything. And this is something that's different. And it's something that's triggered within you that's gonna cause a massive mucus overload, and it's gonna shut you down. You're gonna feel like shit to the point to where you're gonna wanna go to the hospital. And if something that makes you feel like that, you gotta take seriously. So when we look at the Ahmaud Arbery case, you see what direction they want us to go in. Going back to the Obama administration with the whole cops killing black people or black people being killed. There's other people that have been killed that the news are not really reporting on so much. You had black woman, cops run up in her house and kill her. You had another black man that was killed by cops. Clearly you can see that the whole thing was a setup, how the video footage comes out. just a little piece of him jogging and then running into the confrontation with the people. And clearly somebody's always filming. Already filming. So when I first saw that, I said, oh, this is some bullshit. This was already set up from the rip, because the video clip starts out with the guy filming him jog. If he was just jogging, why are you filming him? Who was filming? And then we find out later on that, he did go look up in the construction site for the house. And supposedly it's like 4 minutes or a bunch of time that's missing from the video where they're chasing this guy. And then we just get the final part of the video where he's murdered. But now they're telling us they was chasing him for a while. And that's basically what happens, which is why his reaction when he ran to the truck was what it was. So this was clearly them saying, we're going to kill this guy. And they chased them, and that's the result. So now you got to start looking at everything. And you got to understand that it's a distraction, of course. So we look at the racial tension that's going on again. We look at the killing with the officer putting his knee on his neck. You got stupid people saying, well, if you can talk, you can breathe. This is to agitate the public. This is to get people upset. And you got people protesting and marching and looting, rioting and everything like that. This is to take distraction off of coronavirus, because too many people are asking too many intelligent questions about the virus, and things are starting to reopen because the business owners are flipping out and going crazy. As I said, this is the stupidest thing ever. It's retarded. You can't catch the virus in a bank. You can't catch it going to Walmart, but you can catch it going to the movies. You can catch it going to the mall. You understand? It don't make sense. If this is a deadly virus, as serious as they're saying it is, why is stuff opening? Why wasn't everything closed? Why wasn't it a complete lockdown like it was in Rome and over in Europe when they had quarantine 15 days, they had to stay in the house. Everything was closed. And as I said, it's a purge. So you got to look at this and see that, one, yeah, you can go out there and protest. Go out and protest. They spraying. You don't know what's going on, what's going to happen, because remember, this stuff is made to trigger your self-detoxification process later on. So if they're spraying us, for a certain period of time, they know right around cold and flu season, people are going to start getting sick. So they're trying to get people to get out there and be marching and protesting. These are the very people who they want to kill. They don't want you having that type of energy that's going to defy what they're doing. So anybody that has that kind of energy that's going out there marching and protesting, you don't know what's going to happen. Now, it could just be just a distraction, just trying to get people's mind off of coronavirus. Notice how they're not really talking too much about why they have all these people protesting, all these people coming together and protesting and marching and looting and rioting. What's the virus aspect of this? Are they all wearing masks? Is it going to spread? Is it because of this virus, or because of this protest, this virus is going to, spread further because so many people coming together? Like, what is the ramifications of this? So now, if the virus do resurface in the fall and in the winter, as I expect it to, then they're going to say, well, we told y'all. We just tried to do what y'all wanted to do. Y'all asked us to do this shit. Y'all protested and marched. Now look, all these people dying in the winter, in the fall and winter, of coronavirus because it resurfaced and people didn't follow the guidelines, or we reopened too soon. Now they can instill more quarantine rules and make people stay in the house longer. More people are going to respect the next time they do this, if it comes up in the fall and the winter, because more people are going to be dying. They're going to say, I told you so. But again, as I talked about in the video, I think it's all a distraction from, 5G. It's all basically to buy them more time to get all this stuff together. As I explained in that last video, you got to look at everything that goes into getting 5G online and how long it's going to take for them to do so. So it's taking longer than I don't think they expected. They just, had things in place to basically, get the ball rolling if they need more time. So we have the race card again. So this is a distraction, and everybody's buying into it. Everybody's talking about that now more than coronavirus. People talking about protesting and so on and so forth. It's a big deal again. And, this is what they want. You got to remember that they are engineering this. It is the media that's putting out this information. So you got to think about it. It's a lot of people that die every day. How many of those videos, make it to the news? Why is the news media why do they find specific cases like this when there are many others to highlight and put on TV because they want you to follow it? And everybody that's following it is doing exactly what they want you to do and following exactly the narrative that they want you to follow.